On the morning of my birthday, I opened a family group chat and found a message from my mother. 6 cold words that freaked the fuck out. No one is coming to your party? Grow up? Just like that. No emojis. No context. Just brush it off. I read it once, then again, hoping maybe I'd misunderstood. I hadn't, so I responded with a single word. Understood, nothing more. Then I opened my banking app and stopped the automatic $2,300 rent transfer I'd been making for them every month like clockwork. The next morning, I drove to their house. Not to talk, not to argue, I didn't even knock. I just clicked the fob in my pocket, took back the car they'd been using for the last 2 years, and left without a word. When I got home, I called the bank and shut down every credit card tied to my name that they'd ever used. Not because I was mad, not because my feelings were bruised, but because I finally realized I'd been playing a role in their lives that I never auditioned for, and I was done. What followed wasn't confusion. There weren't questions or frantic calls. It was a thick, quiet shock. The kind that seeps in when people realize something is actually truly over. Not a tantrum, not a guilt trip, just the final slam of a door that won't open again. They thought I wouldn't do it, thought I'd sulk for a day or two, maybe post something passive-aggressive, then quietly slip back into my usual place, paying, apologizing, accepting, but not this time, because that message, it wasn't the first cut. It was the last, the final punctuation mark in a sentence I'd been too ashamed to finish reading. The truth is, I was never a son to them. I was a service, a tool, a walking, breathing bank account with a familiar face they didn't even pretend to acknowledge most days. I'm 28 years old. I rent a small apartment on Denver's southwest side. I work IT support for a healthcare software company. My job isn't flashy, but it keeps me steady. I'm not wealthy. I'm not struggling. I'm just stable. And I genuinely believe that maybe finally we were okay again, that the screaming matches, the frozen silences, the years of subtle digs and blatant letdowns were behind us. I thought I'd done enough, paid enough, proved enough, that I had earned a seat at the table again. But they weren't looking for proof. They wanted compliance, silence, gratitude. For what? I still don't know, maybe for letting me orbit something they still dared to call a family. The most jarring part wasn't what my mom said, it was how the rest of them reacted, or rather, didn't. My aunt gave it a heart emoji. My sister dropped a birthday cake emoji like that made up for everything. My dad forwarded a meme of a clown with a caption that read, "Guess who's turning 12 again?" Not one of them asked if I was okay. Not one of them said happy birthday. I just sat there in my dim living room, holding my phone in one hand like it might suddenly offer something different if I stared hard enough. And the strange thing? I wasn't even sad. I wasn't crying. I was just stunned. Stunned that I'd let it drag on this long. I've been covering their rent since I was 24, not because I had cash to burn, not because they asked nicely, but because they made it sound like I had no choice. It's just for now, you're the only one with a steady job. After all we did for you, it's the least you can do. That temporary solution turned into 4 years. For long years of me shouldering everything. Rent, groceries, gas, internet, repairs. I even paid their cat's vet bill once. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew the guilt trip waiting for me if I didn't. Then came the text, subtle at first, then bolder. Power might get shut off again. Mom's back is acting up. Don't know how we'll move boxes without help. Sophie's car broke down. She really needs to get to work. Can you help her out? That car? I bought it, fully paid, no loan, no thanks. Sophie still drives it, still posts filtered selfies from the driver's seat. One even had the caption, "Grateful for those who support me." Followed by a black heart emoji. Didn't tag me, of course not. Sophie's my little sister. She's 25, unemployed, but somehow, always tanning on a beach or hiking through some national park. My parents like to say she's just figuring things out. She's been figuring things out with my debit card for years. One time I asked my dad why Sophie didn't contribute anything. Not even a utility bill. He just shrugged and said, "She's not like you. She's not built for pressure, you are." And that one stuck with me because they built me for pressure, molded me in it, expected me to carry it all without complaint. But even pressure gives out, and last Thanksgiving, I felt it buckling. Last Thanksgiving, I spent 5 hours on the road with groceries sliding around in the back seat and a bottle of wine buckled in like a passenger. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I wanted it to be a surprise, a good one. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd walk in and they'd be happy to see me, proud. Even when I knocked, my mom opened the door, stared at me for half a second, then blinked like she'd forgotten who I was. "Oh, you came." That was it. Then she turned and shouted over her shoulder, "Sophie, tell Ryan to hide the gifts. Your brother's here." I stood there holding a pie I'd baked myself. Confused. "Who's Ryan?" She laughed like I should already know. "Sophie's boyfriend." They've been staying here for a bit. Turns out Ryan had taken over my old bedroom. I spent the holiday weekend sleeping on the couch, listening to them giggle behind my old door. At dinner, my dad lifted his glass for a toast. Here's to the guy who pays the bills, but still can't keep a girlfriend. Everyone laughed. Sophie nearly choked on her mashed potatoes. Even Ryan smirked. I just sipped my wine, didn't say a word. Afterward, I helped clear the table, wash the dishes, even paid for the plumbing when the sink clogged halfway through dessert. Because that's what I always did, quietly, invisibly, like it was expected. A couple weeks later, Sophie posted a picture on Instagram. She and Ryan standing in front of a snowy cabin in the mountains. The caption said, "Family trip?" I hadn't been invited. I didn't even know they'd gone anywhere. I only found out because a coworker, someone I barely speak to, saw the post on his Explore page and asked, "Hey, wasn't that your sister on a cabin trip? Looked fun." I checked the post. There they were. Mom, Dad, Sophie, Ryan, all grinning in matching beanies, holding steaming mugs like they were in some cozy holiday ad. I zoomed in on the mug Sophie was holding. It was custom. Said "Best daughter ever." I hadn't even gotten a text while they were gone. The week they came back, I got an automated email from my landlord. Reminder, rent is due tomorrow. I checked my bank history. They'd skipped the last transfer without a word. Not a warning, not an apology, just silence, as if it was a given I'd catch it. And I did, of course I did, because I always did. But something in me clicked. Things started to shift after that. I began paying closer attention, started noticing every time they leaned on me, every passive-aggressive message, every guilt-soaked request. I didn't react, not yet. I just began collecting screenshots, voicemails, emails, receipts, messages, evidence of every dollar they took. Every moment they made me feel like a failure for not giving more. I wasn't building a case to confront them. I wasn't planning revenge. I was preparing to be free. All the times they lied, every time they used my name to fill out forms or sign up for something, even that one afternoon when I stumbled across a notification and realized, by accident, that my mom had used my credit score to open a Target card in my name. When I confronted her, she barely flinched, just said, "It's not a big deal, you weren't using it." When I told her that was fraud, that it was literally illegal, she snapped like a switch. "Don't threaten me, Mr. IT Genius. You'd be nothing without this family." A week later, I heard from a coworker, someone who happened to know Sophie's friend group, that my sister had been telling people I was on the spectrum, which I'm not, but it was just believable enough to stick. She said it made it easier to explain me to people, and still I didn't say a word. I didn't fight back. I just kept working, kept paying, kept playing along. I smiled when I had to, but I was building something, quietly, carefully, without a single clue to give me away. And they never saw it coming, because when you build in silence, the moment you erupt, it's not just noise, it's an earthquake. It landed on my birthday. Again, just 2 weeks after they humiliated me in that group chat, 2 weeks after I found out they went on a cabin trip and left me out. Again, 2 weeks after they defaulted on rent and let the landlord come after me for it. And then they had the audacity to reach out. Sophie texted first. "Hey, Mom says to come by tonight, family dinner." I saw it and left her on read. 10 minutes later, my dad called, voice low, measured, like I was the one with something to prove. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're trying to move forward." That was always their favorite phrase, moving forward. What they meant was, pretend it never happened, pretend it never hurt. This time I said yes, but I didn't walk in alone. I showed up at their house, the same one I spent 2 weekends repainting, the same kitchen with the fridge I bought, the same porch I fixed. Right on time, I stepped through the door with a duffel bag slung over one shoulder and a backup drive in my coat pocket. Mom hugged me like nothing had happened. Dad handed me a beer like we were best buddies. Sophie just smirked like the ending was already written and she'd read it first. I sat down, listened, let them talk. They spoke about healing, about forgiveness, about how I had overreacted by cutting off the credit cards and shutting down the rent payment. Then my mom said the thing that finally cracked the floor under all of us. "You're still a part of this family, but you've made your share of mistakes too." I took a slow, steady breath, then reached down, unzipped my bag, and pulled out my laptop, set it gently on the table, opened a folder titled Truth. Dad gave a short laugh. "What's this?" "Homework." I didn't say anything, just double-clicked. First clip. Mom's voice on speaker. A voicemail from last year. Her, screaming. Grow the hell up and pay your sister's tuition before she ends up a loser like you. Second clip. Sophie, on speakerphone. He's always been weird. Just let him pay for stuff. It makes him feel important. Then came the files. Screenshots of every wire transfer, payment receipts, group chats where they planned what to ask me for next. Sophie's Instagram stories, bragging about big sis perks, while holding shopping bags bought with my money. I turned the screen to face them. They leaned in, then froze. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, came back with a USB stick and plugged it into their smart TV. The screen turned black, then lit up again with a loan application. Dad's name in bold as primary borrower. My name listed as cosigner. No signature from me, no permission, nothing. I looked straight at him. You used my social security number. You co-signed me onto your debt without ever telling me. He opened his mouth to speak, but I lifted a hand. It's already reported. They froze your account. You'll get the fraud letter next week. Mom gasped. Sophie just started laughing. Wow, you're so dramatic. Then, mockingly, what's next? You gonna sue us? I smiled. Not me, but he is. That's when the doorbell rang. I walked over and opened it, and there he was, Luke, Sophie's ex, the one she claimed had assaulted her, the one she nearly destroyed with lies. He stepped inside holding a black folder and sat down across from her. You want to explain it to them? Or should I? Sophie went pale. Why are you even here? He opened the folder, pulled out printed screenshots, her fake texts, the ones she wrote and framed as his. There were her handwritten notes, literally titled How to Destabilize Him Before the Breakup. There was a transcript of voice recordings she edited, spliced to make it sound like he'd screamed at her. My mom started crying. My dad just stared into space. Sophie stood up, her voice shaking. You two are sick. This is harassment. Luke didn't even blink. You're not the victim here. He paused. You're the villain, and I'm finished pretending. Then he stood and walked out. I followed him to the door, then turned around, looked at the three of them, and said the last thing I'll ever say in that house. You wanted me to play a part, the good son, the quiet little wallet. I stepped forward. But now, I'm the one writing the script. I picked up my laptop, slipped the drive back in my pocket, walked out the front door. Behind me, the shouting started. Mom yelling Sophie's name, Dad shouting after me to come back, Sophie throwing something. Glass, maybe. I didn't turn around, because when you finally let the truth explode, you don't go back to watch the fire die, you let it burn. The next morning, I uploaded everything. Not just the clips, not just the screenshots, I uploaded the full archive. One post, one headline. When your family treats you like an ATM with a heartbeat. Inside the link, every single transaction, the illegal loan, the forged documents, Sophie's fake messages, her audio edits, her breakup strategy, Mom's voicemail calling me worthless, Dad's Thanksgiving joke about how I never keep a girlfriend, but I sure keep the lights on. I didn't write some emotional sob story. I didn't beg for pity. I posted evidence. Just the facts, just the truth. And one final line. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. I'm just done pretending this is what family is supposed to look like. Then I hit post and turned my phone off. By noon, it had gone viral. Not internet breaking, not front page viral, but loud enough. But it caught fire fast, not celebrity level viral, but enough to scorch everything it touched. Thousands of reposts, hundreds of comments. Some came from strangers, people I'd never met but somehow knew exactly what I felt. This is my story too, my brother did this to me, you're not alone. One person wrote, the level of documentation here is wild, go off, king. Others were closer to home. Friends, people who'd known me for years, even a guy from high school left a comment. I always knew something was weird about your sister, this confirms it. I didn't reply. I let it breathe on its own, the post didn't need me anymore. By mid-afternoon, my aunt, the same one who'd reacted with a heart emoji to Mom's birthday insult, posted her own status, air your laundry in private, family matters shouldn't be public. No one liked it. Sophie? She took to Instagram with a black square and a caption straight out of a victim handbook. Betrayal hits hardest from the people you once fed. I almost laughed out loud. Then Dad went live, not joking. Live on Facebook. He sat in that same garage I helped him repair once, holding his phone with shaky hands, his voice trembled. My son's been manipulated. He's mentally fragile. He doesn't know what he's doing. And right behind him, a pyramid of empty beer cans. He kept rambling about forgiveness, how families mess up, how he still loved me. He hoped we could all move forward. In the comments, one of his golf buddies chimed in. Didn't you say he forged your signature once? Dad clicked like that was his fatal move, because I had the receipts. 3 years ago, I filmed him, beer in hand, sunk deep into the couch. Talking to Sophie, he laughed and said, "It's fine. I used his social, he won't notice, and if he does, he owes us, he wouldn't even be alive without us." I uploaded the video in response, no caption, just the date. Then I went dark again. But behind the scenes, I wasn't hiding, I was working. That same week, I launched a YouTube channel, just one video to start. A direct-to-camera monologue titled When Helping Becomes Enabling. No finger-pointing, no names. Just me, my voice, level, measured, unapologetic. You can love people and still walk away. You can help someone and still be used. And when they finally show you how little they think of you, believe them. It landed hard, 400,000 views in 3 days. Then came the podcast invite, one dedicated to adults from narcissistic families. I said yes. Then another came, and another, then an email from a publisher. And no, I wasn't chasing clout. I didn't want to be famous, I wasn't trying to build a brand. But the truth? People were starving. Starving to hear someone finally say what they'd only ever whispered. My mother tried to guilt-trip me one last time. She sent a photo, a letter from the mortgage company. Missed payments, foreclosure review underway. Her message said, "I hope you're proud of yourself. They might lose the house." I didn't respond with sympathy. I sent her a screenshot instead. Her name, every dollar I'd sent, over the last 3 years total, $84,000. Caption: "You took it, not me." She left me on read. 3 hours later, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was Sophie, just one line. "I hope you never have kids. You'd be a terrible father." I smiled, not because it was clever, but because it was pathetic. They were still trying, still throwing darts. Guilt, shame, manipulation. Everything but the one thing that might have made a difference. Accountability, but none of it touched me anymore. The best part? I moved. Quietly, no announcements, no dramatic farewell posts. Not even a forwarding address. Downtown condo, 10th floor, bought under a trust name. Fully paid. Clean title, clean slate. New view, new number, new quiet. They tried to reach me through old relatives, old friends, nothing worked. Because I wasn't just cutting ties. I was dismantling the very idea that I owed them anything at all. Not my savings, not my time, not even my acknowledgement. A month later, I changed my number, not because I was scared, because I was bored. Bored of Mom's voicemails soaked in guilt. Bored of Sophie's cryptic Instagram posts about toxic siblings. Bored of Dad's drunk emails that started with, "You don't know how hard I had it," and ended with, "Let's make money off this mess." They weren't reaching out to fix anything. They just wanted to reclaim the story. But I'd already told it. I drained it of every excuse, every angle, every justification, and then I buried it. They just hadn't noticed the funeral. I didn't vanish, I evolved. The new place. Cold, clean, modern, exactly how I wanted it. Tall ceilings, neighbors who mind their business. No framed memories, no pictures taped to the fridge. No emergency key under the mat. I didn't tell anyone where I moved. Not even my closest friends. Because this part, this peace, this silence, it wasn't a secret. It was a sanctuary. And it wasn't something I wanted to share. It was something I had earned. I took my time settling in. One chair, one table, nothing rushed, no clutter, just space. Do you want me to continue from this point or work on a specific part of it further? Piece by piece, I filled that condo, no debt, no rush, no one's approval required. I still remember standing in the center of the living room that first night. Barefoot, the tile cool under my feet, coffee in hand. I'd made it myself in my own kitchen with my own machine, and the strangest thing hit me. No one's gonna barge in and yell. No one's going to guilt me for resting. No one's gonna ask for gas money or say, "Just this once," or expect a ride with no thanks. There would be no group texts I didn't ask to be part of. No fake birthday celebrations for people who hated me in private. No recycled memes passed around like inside jokes about me. Just quiet, unfiltered, earned silence. I finally went full-time on something that had lived in the background for years. My business, it had always been quiet, careful, tucked away. But after everything blew up, I stopped hiding it. I called it Understood Consulting. The name came from the only word I sent my mother on my last birthday. I built the website in one night, sketched the logo myself, secured the domain, registered the trademark. This wasn't about revenge or symbolism. It was about reclaiming the space I occupied, about never needing permission again just to exist. Now I help others do what I did, walk out of the cages they were raised in. I speak, coach, I listen, but I keep my life to myself. Because this isn't a reality show for my family to binge and twist. This isn't their redemption story to hijack. My life is a locked gate now, with security and silence, and I sleep better than I ever have. 3 weeks after the move, I checked my P.O. box and found a thick manila envelope. Inside, there was a letter, handwritten, Mom's cursive slanting sideways on floral paper, red ink bleeding at the edges. It said, "You used to be our sweet boy. I don't know who this bitter man is, we made mistakes. But airing them like that? You humiliated us, you ruined us. Maybe one day you'll understand how hard it was for us, maybe one day you'll grow up." And at the bottom, the cherry on top, "I'm praying for you." I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't even feel warm. I flipped the letter over, grabbed a black Sharpie, and wrote 3 words in bold across the back. "Keep your prayers." Then I dropped it into the trash without flinching. 2 days later, I got an email from Dad. Subject line, "Idea." He wrote, "What if we went on DR, Phil? You tell your side, I tell mine, we make peace. Audiences eat that stuff up. Father-son reconciliations, think about the reach, good PR for both of us." Attached, a photo from when I was 5, crying at Chuck E. Cheese, Dad smiling at the camera, beer in one hand. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I saved it, not as a keepsake, as a warning, because they didn't want peace. They wanted a spotlight. That night, I uploaded a new video to my channel. No music, no effects, just me and the truth. They keep asking if I'll make peace, if I'll come home, if I'll forgive. But peace isn't forgetting. It's not saying, "They had it hard too." It's not dragging a chair back to the table that once starved you of love. Peace is absence. Absence of chaos. Absence of manipulation. Absence of their names echoing through your mind. I'm not your son anymore. I'm the consequence. It hit a nerve, 2 million views in 1 week. Not long after, I was leaving my office and saw a couple standing in front of the building. They were staring at the logo on the door. I paused. The woman looked at me and said, "Are you him? From the story?" I nodded. She just said, "Thank you, I didn't think people like you existed." That single moment, tiny as it was, meant more than every birthday I'd ever begged my family to remember, because for the first time I didn't need their applause. The world was full of people who'd been lied to by people who claimed to love them, and now I was proof that they could survive it. It's been over a year since I last spoke to any of them. I have no plans to change that. They still post, still hint, still rewrite the ending. I let them, because you don't argue with ghosts. You just stop letting them haunt your peace. And some nights, when I walk past the mirror in my hallway, I catch a glimpse of myself. Older now, still unbothered, not bitter, just free. Because I didn't just escape a toxic family. I outgrew it. And once you do that, there's no going back. Ever. The original plaque still hangs in my office. Steel, brushed finish, anchored with perfect screws. "We don't rebuild what broke you, we build what frees you." Right below it, I added a second plaque last week. Smaller, custom made. Guess who's not turning 12 again? Every time I see it, I smile. Because this time, the party's mine. And no one uninvited gets in.